Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm just doing a quick oil change on my dad's Jeep Grand Cherokee, and I just came across something. I was just looking at the front sway bar as I was getting ready to line up the oil to come down here, and I noticed that, and I'm like, that's kind of funny looking. That is definitely someone's socket that's on there, and they forgot it or it came off or whatever, and I have no idea how long that's been on there, but I figured today we take it off, and I wonder if a simple hammer will. Oh yeah, it's budging. All right, I went at it for a while and it came off. It doesn't look pretty. You can see it's been there for a while, but it's free, so some poor mechanic is missing his socket. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure this has been here well before we bought the car. Yeah, look at this. Look at this spider web. Ugh. Ew, look how like floppy it is. Well, that's no longer on the car. Okay, so today's video has nothing to do with my dad's Jeep, and it actually has to do with kind of the STi. And the STi, it pretty well spoiled me. Other than, it being an STi and it's new and it has all the bells and whistles and stuff, but the big thing that really spoiled me is this right here. Having steering wheel controls is amazing. I got so used to it that whenever I get into my other cars, I'm always like trying to change the station or adjust the volume, and then I realize and then I gotta stop being lazy and then go over and hit the radio. It's whatever. It's a convenience that I didn't realize I love so much. Depending on the model legacy you got steering wheel controls. Mine, however, did not come with steering wheel controls. I'm surprised there's even an option without them, considering there's a GT. You would think it would just come standard, but it doesn't. And I actually wanted this feature in my Impreza. And now let me explain what the plan is and what I was going to do to the Impreza, which I'm going to stop now for obvious reasons. And I'm going to do it on the Legacy GT. Now, if I open up the Impreza, inside, you'll see I have a 2008 WRX steering wheel. Now, I bought this steering wheel a long time ago, and I did have the intent of making the volume controls work for this car. I sort of got cruise to work, but it didn't quite work, and I came to the assumption that I had to change out the clock spring. The Impreza clock spring just doesn't have enough connections, so I'm going to pause on that project. That's no longer going to happen in the Impreza, because now we're going to take the steering wheel off, put it in the Legacy, and we're going to add all these volume controls and, just in general, nice leather steering wheel with thread stitching to the Legacy. One thing I do know is people have done this modification to the Legacy using just their original clock spring, and they normally just cut these connectors up and make them work with the analog version clock spring that comes on the Legacy that's normally located around here. I want to do a different method. I want to replace the clock spring. I think it will work. I don't see why it wouldn't work. I believe the connectors are the same for the most part. I'll have to go through and double check. This one obviously does have a lot more wires going through it because it does have all the options for the volume control and whatnot. Before you start messing around with your airbags, please disconnect your battery. Just pull off the negative terminal. And then what I like to do is once I'm in the car, I'll just push on the brake pedal a couple times. So if there's any residual power in the car, it will get rid of it through your brake lights. And then when you go ahead and remove your airbag, doesn't blow up. So I'm gonna go ahead, pull this off, and we can get to it. All right, so with the steering wheel out, you could see I did try to do like the analog cruise control conversion. It just wasn't working out in my favor. The plan was I was gonna swap the clock spring. I'm pretty sure it would have worked. I just would have had to double check the wiring. Since then, I've gone ahead and found a different backing, which has the phone call buttons. So I'm going to hopefully try to integrate that into this. And I also found some black buttons over the gray ones, which I think look a little bit nicer. So I went ahead, cleaned everything up. I'm going to go ahead and swap all this stuff over so I no longer have this cut up wiring. That's pretty jank. Honestly, it's not really hard to do. Just a couple Phillips screws. The plastic pops off. You turn it around. A couple more Phillips screws that you'll see right there. I'll go ahead, bang this out. We can proceed and get on the Legacy. right guys, I've gone ahead, pull the negative off, just put a piece of wood there, just make sure they don't connect. We can go ahead, pull the steering wheel off, but remember, make sure there's no power in the car just by pushing the brake pedal. So if any residual power is still in the car, it's now gone. And again, horn doesn't work, there's no lights on. I think we're good. Let's go ahead, take the wheel out. So there's the two wheels side by side. That is the 2006 Legacy wheel. That is the 2008 WRX wheel. Right away you can tell why I decided to go with the 08 WRX wheel. It has the red stitching. It's hard to see because it is dirty, but it has the volume controls. It's just a nicer looking wheel over the Legacy wheel. And I do know that you can get the volume controls right here for the Legacy, but again, I just prefer the WRX wheel. I already had it, might as well throw it in. Now we got to put this clock spring in the car. And to do that, I have to go ahead and completely disassemble this entire area. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this steering wheel column and everything down here so I can go ahead and remove this clock spring. I'm not going to show you guys step by step how to do this. If I do that, I'm going to be here forever. I have never done this on this car specifically. I'm sure I can figure it out. Just go through, check here and there what comes off. Take your time. You'll figure it out. Okay guys, we ran into a bit of an issue, and basically what that is the clock springs use different connectors. As you can tell, they are different, and on the inside those prongs are way bigger than those, and there's a lot more in there. So originally what I was going to do was I was going to modify my clock spring, because this clock spring right here is the one from the 2008 Impreza. This is the one that's from my 2006 Legacy. So I was going to modify this, snip it off, and then solder these onto here. But what I've decided to do is I'm not going to do that. Because this connector has so many outputs, I'd rather, keep the connector. So then I was going to modify this connector down here, but as you can see, there's only 4 wires. This is because we don't have all these steering wheel controls, so there's only a couple of wires. I was going to cut this off and modify this, but then I decided to do something else. So I'm not a normal person, I have too many clock springs, but basically what happened was when I went to the pick and pull and I grabbed this clock spring, I also cut off the connectors that were on the car. So like this was the airbag, this was to this connector, and then this one right here, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with, but I have a feeling this is for the phone controls. I'm not certain, but I think that's what it's for. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take our Legacy clock spring and I'm going to snip off this chunk of the harness, and then what I'm going to do is create my own little plug and play harness, basically using this connector and this connector, so we have a quick and easy plug and play solution. We'll also be able to keep all the signal wires for all the other controls and reuse them later on down the road. Go ahead, start cutting this stuff up, see if I can figure out a way to make this work. So I'm guessing that Subaru, if they were kind, would have made all the colors do the exact same things, no matter if it was the Legacy or Impreza clock spring. And basically what I'm doing is I'm merging 2 connectors that I got from a Legacy clock spring and an Impreza wiring harness from the inside underneath the dash. And I'm basically just merging them together so I can make this into a little plug and play little harness. So if I need to make some changes, I can quickly take this out of the car, make a change, put it back in and test. Whereas you don't necessarily need to do this. By rights, what you could do is just cut this connector on and then put this connector in its place. It would be a lot easier to do that actually if this does work, because you would just match up the colored wiring, but I just want something that I can remove, add some wires if I need to, and it would just be nice. I could take it out. I don't have to be laying underneath the car and make the changes. So I'm going to go ahead, plug this in, and I guess see if the clock spring actually works and cruise control works. If this works, I think we're going to be good, and I can go ahead and wire everything up. Also, when this is done, I want to clean it up, shorten it a bit. I don't need all this length, and just, you know, use some heat shrink connectors and have some wires coming off of here in case I need it for the stereo, because I need to figure out how I'm going to make the steering wheel communicate with the stereo. It might be pretty easy. I'm not sure. I'll figure that out once I get to there, but I'm going to go ahead, throw the clock spring and all of this junk back in and see if cruise control works. The car has power now. The horn doesn't work. Horn's not even working. All right, let me figure this out. Okay, so when I put on the clock spring from the 08 Impreza onto the Legacy, I've been noticing that it doesn't really want to go on. It's kind of fighting it. And it's only when this is rotating. Just comparing the Legacy clock spring, you notice the circle, it's pretty well a circle. There's no like groove sticking out, nothing. On the Impreza one, there is these little marks on the edge right there, and I'm wondering if that's kind of pushing the clock spring out and kind of forcing it to rub. So I'm just gonna cut it off a little bit and see if that fixes the issue. I could be wrong. I don't think it's gonna hurt it just by snipping those off, but I'm gonna give it a shot and see if it fixes that. I don't think that the clock spring is damaged. I think we're having just an issue with the wiring. It might be a little bit different. I'm still trying to figure it out, but I'll come back when I got some good news. Okay guys, I have been going at this now for I don't even know how long. It's been a while. So I have so far discovered the elimination wires, and honestly that was pretty easy. What I have been having issues with is knowing what wire is what on the clock spring or roll connector that people refer them to, and I just can't find a diagram. I have been looking everywhere to try to find a wiring diagram for, I believe it was a 2012 Impreza that I took the steering wheel out of. A long time ago, I don't remember what it came out of, but it was some newer Impreza. And I also cannot find one for the GT. It's just, people don't know. So I've been blind. I've been going at this by myself. So I figured out a way now to know how to make this work. And let me show you. So from inside the car, this is my harness, I guess you can call it. And you can see I've been literally taking apart the car. It's not staying like this. It's just me trying to figure out what's going on. Seeing red, I thought was, you know, power, but that I'm still not sure of. It might be, because I do know if I have the black and red connected, the horn works. But recently I discovered this white wire with the gray dots. It is in fact the cruise control button. And I could show you how I know that. I wired in, not very well, but I wired in the red and the white with silver dots. And right here I have the ground, the black with silver dots with the black with the red stripe right here. And if I just tap the cruise, the horn works. I just pissed off a dog, but the horn works. So basically what I'm going to do now is I have it written down all the colors of the wires, and I'm going to go through and try to figure out what is what, because right now I am blind. If I can at least use the horn to figure out what is what, it'll make my life a lot easier. Another thing, the notches I talked about on the clock spring that I talked about cutting off works. I cut it off. There's no more grinding. The clock spring moves freely. You don't hear nothing. So it does work. Very easy modification. Just use the utility knife. Worked like a charm. Let me figure out this wiring, because I can't find anything online. I'm blind. I'm literally blind for this. So be right back. I think I figured it out. I swear no one has anything online about this. The only thing I could ever find a wiring diagram for was this connection right here to the clock spring. And again, I used the horn to go through and figure everything out. I think our cruise works. If I turn the car on and hit cruise. Oh, you have no idea how long I've been going at this. I have been going on forums. I've been looking at videos. No one has done this. Everyone normally just keeps the stock Legacy clock spring, and yes, that works, but I really wanted to use the Impreza clock spring because I get everything. I get the mode button, I get the volume, I get the Bluetooth controls, which I don't know if we can make work. That might have to be its own video, because I don't know if it'll work. But I need to go test this and see if this works. Like this stuff. I need to see if it works. So I'm gonna be right back. This is the first test drive. If I hit cruise, it's on. If I hit set, Oh, never mind, that was reset. Hold on. If I hit set, okay, set is not working. So something is wrong. What is it? Maybe I'm not fast enough? Hold on, let me play around with it. It isn't fast enough. It works. If I hit reset, it reset, set, cancel, cruise off. Sick, this works. I am so happy right now. It's not even funny. I have been trying this for so long. Okay, let me just clean it all up. I need to get back home, clean up the harness, and I'll explain what I did. Be right back. All right, guys, it's done. I got a full working plug-and-play harness that will work for 08's, well, I guess 14 WRX or STi steering wheel. Pretty sure the Impreza is the same. And it will go to an 05 to 09 Legacy, confirmed. It should go to those. If I am wrong on the years, I'll correct myself, but I'm pretty sure 05 to 09 was the same for Legacies. I believe this will work for Imprezas too. I think it'll work from 02 to 07. I might be wrong on that. I'll put all the working ones down below. I'm pretty sure it will work for Foresters as well. Again, the older ones, I'm not sure on the years, but I'm pretty sure it will work. Any of them that will work, I'll put in the description below. Let me also just show you guys roughly like how this works in the sunlights and not in the car. This is to go to the clock spring from a newer Impreza, so 08 to I believe 2014, and this is to go to your car. Now, if you remember this connector right here, I cut out of an Impreza, so I went to a scrapyard, cut this out. So this would be inside the car. This right here would be to the clock spring inside your Legacy Impreza or Forester or whatever. Now, if you just want to get your cruise control to work, this is all you need. That dude's pissed at me right there. He's gone. He's gone up the tree. But basically, if you just want to get cruise control to work on your Legacy and you don't want to do, you know, the steering wheel controls and all the fancy stuff, essentially your Legacy side, it's just these 4 wires, your brown, red, I don't know if you want to call that gray and black. And then this is the side on the Impreza to make it work. It's basically, it's red to red, brown to like that white color, I don't know what you want to call that, gray to the yellow and blue, and then black to black. You're going to notice I have brown in there as well. That brown, it's just grounded for your steering wheel controls. Before we get steering wheel controls, there's also lighting. Purple, black and white go together and they split off. So to the left side, that's your steering wheel controls lighting. The right side, that's your Bluetooth control lighting. If you want them to both be on, just splice them together and it'll work. Lastly, to get your steering wheel controls work, basically your volume up, down, and all that is the yellow. And I just have it to this green wire because I'll hook it up in the car. And then from my understanding, this blue and white one, that is your mode. Now, I don't know if mode will work with my head unit, but that is it, and I'm going to hook it up anyways. Now, let me throw this in the car and explain to you how it works. Now, as you can see, I have my newer Impreza clock spring right here. This is the Bluetooth controls. I'm not sure yet how to wire this up. I'll figure that out in another video. Honestly, I don't even know if my head unit will support it. This is your airbag. Do not touch this. This is plug and play. You don't have to worry about it. Literally just plugs right in. Your other side goes in. That's it. It's fully connected. Now what's going to work is your horn and your cruise control. You're going to have to figure this out if you want to splice it. If it was me, I'd make a plug and play connector. Just go to your local scrapyard and just, you know, just cut off the connectors, you know, I'll get you kind of a close up. You know, you guys can pause this, do what you want with it. I know it's not the best angling of the wires. You could see them there. See them there. Again, you know. Something you're also going to notice is my connector right here only has 4 wires. I went ahead and depinned these pins or these wires because they aren't used. Basically, they were in my Legacy connector right here. But if you look, there's nothing on the other side. So they would literally just be hanging out and doing nothing. So to clean it up, I just depinned it. Really not that hard. If you want to do it, you don't need to, but you can do it. But now to wire everything up, your purple and your black with whites. These are the 2 lines. I decided to do white and black. They're going to splice in on this purple and your black and white connector right here. So the front one and the back one. Now, I don't want to splice it into my car side, so I'm going to splice it into my radio harness. This right here is purple. This right here is black and white. So I'm going to put purple, which is my white wire, to purple, which is the top one. And then I'm going to put my black to the bottom one, which is the black and white. So that would be lighting. If you have a stock radio and you want to do steering wheel controls, you would splice into purple, white, and orange, white. This will work for stock radios. I'm pretty sure you should be able to take these two wires and splice them into that. I have not tested it, so do not take my word for it. If someone tries this and figures out that it works or it doesn't work, please let me know. But what we're doing, and it's because I have an aftermarket head unit, as you can see. If you look right here, it says steering wheel control key 1, steering wheel control key 2. So 1, which is yellow, I'm going to have to go to the yellow wire right here, which I have my green wire to extend it. So that is going to go to the yellow, and the blue right here, which from my understanding is just mode, I'm going to have it run to the white and the red. Now this is going to change based on everyone's radio. So you're going to have to look for your steering wheel control wire. Also, you're going to have to make sure your radio supports this. If it does not support this, you're going to have to get an iData link and program it and make it work. I'm not going to go over that because I don't have to. And also my radio wouldn't support it. It doesn't have an input for it. But I will link a video down below of a YouTuber that did this. He did a very detailed explanation of how to do this. And I use a lot of information to help with this, but my way of doing this was a little bit different because I use a different clock spring. He used the OEM legacy clock spring. And again, you could probably do the same thing with your Impreza and Forester. But I wanted to be different. I wanted to have all the wires and all the possibilities of anything. I didn't have to worry about it. So I didn't have to splice anything. I thought it was a little bit cleaner. It was a little more difficult on my end. But now if I wanted, I have Bluetooth controls if I can figure that out. If I can figure it out, I'll do a different video. If you don't see a video linked or a video in the description, that means I have not figured it out. Now I'm going to go ahead, wire up this mess. I'm going to run all the wiring in and behind here. Just stick it up and behind and out this side so it's all clean and looks OEM. Let me do that. And once I'm done, I will get back to you. I'm also going to remove the steering wheel. And I'm going to show you what I modified on the clock spring to make sure there was no binding and no like weird noises coming from the clock spring. So let me get this done and I'll be right back. All right, guys, I got the airbag out with the negative terminal disconnected. Please do not touch your airbag if you have not disconnected your negative terminal. You don't want this thing blown up in your face. However, I want to swap the airbag detonators, I believe you call them. It's basically an explosive that makes your airbag pop. The thing is I would just like to keep the legacy one with the legacy. Personally, seems a little bit safer to do, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. It might not make a difference, but just peace of mind kind of thing. Swap it out. So I'm going to swap it out. It's a couple of 8 mils. Really shouldn't be that hard. Alright guys, went ahead, wrapped the harness I made up in electrical tape just to clean it up. Ran the clock spring all nice and tight up in here. It's kind of hard to explain how it runs. You're just gonna have to get in there and figure it out. To remove the clock spring, I don't think I showed this. It's just the gold Phillips screws. And I ran all the wiring up and behind. If you're having issues running the wiring, just take like a coat hanger, like this one, flatten it out, cut it up, run it behind, throw some tape on it. You'll be able to pull it through. As you can see, it's connected there. I'm gonna go ahead, connect all this stuff up, show you how to center this afterwards and the modification I did to this. But let me hook this up first, then I'll show you that. So looking at the clock spring, first of all, I do want to point out I removed the 4 golden screws. It should come down pretty easily. And if you remember, I mentioned there was those tabs right here. I did kind of cut them off, as you can see, so it's a straight clean circle. So now there's no binding or anything on the clock spring when it goes around the wheel, whereas before I modified that, there was kind of like binding. So with the clock spring secured with the 4 gold screws, you want to follow these instructions right here just to make sure it is back into the center place. If for some whatever reason you lost where your place was, so basically go all the way to the left, and then you want to make 3 1/4 turns to get it back to straight. So quarter, 1, 2, 3. This is always the top, so you know you're there. So now we can go ahead, put the steering wheel back on, and we don't have to worry about destroying our clock spring when we turn the wheel from left to right. I'm going to start putting like my trim back together and everything, just a couple Phillips underneath. And once the car is more or less back together, I'll show you it working. Okay guys, the Battery's back in. Should be able to start it. There she goes. So if I hit cruise, you'll see cruise works in the background. It's a little blurry, but it does work, as you can see. And I already have tested all these buttons. They all work. Let's just go to radio.
Take up every corner of my
It's pretty loud. And you're noticing the volume's going down. It's because I'm doing it with this. And then I don't know if I can change station. Yep, sure enough, I can change station with this. And it all works. I'm not sure if mode works. So I don't know if mode is going to work with this head unit, but if I just go back to the settings, I can come to steering wheel controls, and I could set mode to be any of these things. And basically all you do is tap it, you select the button you want. But again, this is going to change based on what head unit you use. Here you guys go. I have a newer style steering wheel in my Legacy GT. This was supposed to go on the Impreza, but it's on the GT now. Everything works except mode. Again, it could be based on the head unit, I'm not sure. And Bluetooth controls, I have not been set up, but I don't even know if I can set it up on this. If I can, I will. But it works. So if you guys enjoy the video, please feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Take it easy.